As a donor walked through the halls of CCU, the spaghetti-strapped, ripped jeans, and tube tops made up his mind as he decided whether or not to donate money to our school. You guessed it, he decided not to support CCU. According to an RA that I personally know, his reasoning was, "I will not support a school, Christian in name, that looks like the rest of the world." This is a true story. Colorado Christian University should have a dress code for students. The dress code affects the daily lives of CCU students. You've probably heard the saying, without a set standard, people fall to the lowest common denominator. In the same way, without a dress code, more people tend to show little respect for themselves, their professors, and those they interact with every day.
Ever wanted to go to class in your most favorite pair of ripped jeans, or if it's hot sunny day, you want to be in a nice tank top to keep cool in the bottom floor of Leprino because it's always roasting? Well, walk back into your closet because you are not allowed to wear that here. At CCU, the handbook has a dress code that strictly prohibits wearing ripped jeans, strappy tanks, and other clothing restrictions. In school, the biggest thing you want to be is comfortable. And now we're having to compromise our self-personality and comfort while sitting in the most boring gen eds that are roasting. What fun is that?
Most every private college has a dress code. This is not something that should be new or surprising. A Christian university wants to and should want to be different and stand out from other colleges. According to Liberty University and Pensacola Christian College, these both have tight dress codes that students are aware of before they commit to the school. If someone would like to dress like the rest of the world, they should go to a public college. Or if someone has a problem with the dress code, and that is the determining factor in whether or not they attend a college, then they should choose a different school. We live in a free society. No one is forcing someone to go to a college that they don't want to be at because of a dress code. But for a Christian university, it should be no surprise for a student when they are required to dress a certain way.
I do see your point there, but when there is no dress code, individuals are less likely to fixate on superficial aspects of appearance, which allows more attention to be placed on more important matters, such as personal skills, working, and learning. Now, I'm not intending you to show up to class half naked, but calling out students for their so-called immodest attire in class only leads to unnecessary embarrassment for both the teacher and the student. As adults, we are capable of dressing appropriately for school, and removing the dress codes can reduce distractions. Instead of teachers spending time policing minor clothing violations, they can focus more on teaching and creating a better environment for both educators and students to thrive.
While I understand your point that college students may be adults, this dress code is helping set them up for a future professional career. Now, with that, Colorado Christian University students should have a dress code because by doing this, they are following the Lord's commands to live modest and holy lives. While wearing ripped jeans or tank tops is not a sin, I enjoy wearing them all the time outside of class. At a university, that's core desire is to reflect Christ. The things that are worn should stand out when compared to the rest of the world. So with that in mind, modesty is a rather big deal. Romans 12 verse 2 says, "To not be conformed to this world, but to be transformed by the renewal of your mind." Again, I do not believe that clothing items such as ripped jeans or tank tops are immodest necessarily or are a sin. I'm not saying that if you're wearing those, then you are sinning. But what I am saying is that people at a Christian university should aim to set themselves apart from the rest of the world.
I do understand your point that can come off as not Christian, but I don't think our Christ is going to judge us upon what we wear in the classroom. Dress codes often restrict personal expression, limiting students' ability to showcase their individuality. Allowing people to dress like they fosters creativity, self-confidence, and a sense of personal identity, which helps create more inclusive and a diverse environment. While this school is private and doesn't require uniforms, the current policies still impose limitations on how we can express ourselves through clothing. When students are permitted to dress comfortably, they are less likely to be distracted by uncomfortable or restrictive attire, which can negatively affect their focus. Speaking of focus, let's mention the whole shoulder showing deal. If a man is more fixated on a girl's shoulders than anything else in the world, that is an intense red flag wavering in the air. Yes, our shoulders can look sparkly and delicate, but we shouldn't have to dress to accommodate to that one goofball in the crowd ruining it for everyone else. God gave us all beautiful shoulders. It's not like it's inappropriate to show them once in a while.
Well, I agree with your point that the Lord is obviously not judging us for what we wear or saying, oh, you sinner, you're showing your shoulders. I believe that it is more of the university having a dress code in place for their students in the classroom. I agree that it is not good for professors to be focusing on that or to be judging people and looking at them and saying, oh, that's too short, go back and change. But what I am saying is that students should be aware that the way that they dress does reflect the way that they respect their professors and the way they respect each other. Again, I agree. It is a red flag if someone is looking at your shoulders and that's the only thing they like about you. But I do not think that showing your shoulders in the classroom is the problem. I think it is a modesty and just a respect issue at that point.
While my argument may seem to revolve a lot around women, my last final point is concerning athletes, specifically male athletes. I know runner boys aren't the most attractive in those itty-bitty shorts, but I'm sure all of you who are involved in sports know the struggle of changing after class and getting to practice on time. It doesn't mesh very well. What's the matter with a quick change and a scamper across campus in their teeny-weeny shorts? If that's what we're worried about and trying to shelter our students from seeing, they have a lot more coming to see later in their life in the real world.
In conclusion, Colorado Christian University students should be held to a higher standard by having a dress code. When a student chooses to attend CCU, they have chosen to adhere to the dress code in the first place, and they should not be surprised by the dress code. They are not only setting an example for others, but respecting professors and themselves. Ultimately, they are obeying God as they obey the authority that the Lord has set over them and are listening to God's commands to live humble and modest lives. Now, CCU students, it is your time to execute the standards that have been put in place by the authorities that have been put in place above us. Our bodies were created to please the Lord. Will you look like the rest of the world, or will you live to something greater than your own desires?
Furthermore, without a dress code, students are given the responsibility and freedom to dress in ways that reflect their values, fostering maturity and self-discipline, which are all key aspects of personal and spiritual growth. CCU is doing everything to shelter these students, and once they get out into the real world, they will see that ripped jeans, tank tops, and small runner boys shorts aren't the scariest thing to look at. Thank you.
Okay, one question for Annika for the affirmative.
So I was wondering, what's the difference between like being a part of the world outside of the classroom and like still wearing tank tops and ripped jeans like in the grocery store, and then like here? Because if you're a Christian, you do both, and your argument is to like be out of the world. Do you think the policy recommends for students just to in general not wear those items?
Yeah.
And why?
I think the policy in general is wanting to show respect in a more formal type of setting. So for us, when we attend class, it's a more formal presentation of ourselves. We're going there to learn from respectable people, and I think that that's mostly what the policy is addressing. I think that it is true that some things that people could wear that would be considered immodest outside of the classroom. CCU wants to encourage you not to wear those things because they do want you to look different from the world, but I don't think that that's their main problem, because that's in a more like informal way. If it doesn't convict you to wear whatever, then don't feel convicted by it. Like that's okay, that's fine, like you can wear that. But when you're in the classroom, I think that they want more of just that level of respect and honor. So yeah.
What would your response be to the donor that didn't donate because of the dress code? Or because the lack of the dress code?
I think that, that's actually a good question. But I think they're thinking of like, they're seeing through like this tiny little like peephole of what like most colleges are, and maybe like classifying what like a Christian campus should look like. So I think they need to take into like consideration that like, I mean, we don't even have a uniform. So with that being like in the handbook, I feel like judging us based on wearing ripped jeans is kind of a weird like thing to judge us by, and not donating it just because I don't know, that we just wear ripped jeans. So yeah.